If you're a small business owner, does this sound familiar? You feel like you're constantly juggling, just completely overwhelmed by a never-ending list of tasks. Do you ever just wish there was a simpler, more direct way to manage the daily grind and get back to doing what you actually love? Well, you are in exactly the right place.
So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through a simple 4-step framework that's going to help you transform your operations, slash your stress levels, and take back your most valuable asset, your time. And we're going to start by digging into the core problem that so many of us face.
You see, the biggest trap for so many business owners is creating routines that are just way too complex from the get-go. It's this impulse to build a perfect, elaborate system, a Taj Mahal, if you will, right out of the gate. So on one hand, you have the common mistake, right? Trying to build that perfect, all-encompassing Taj Mahal routine from day one. The problem? It's usually built on what you think you need, not reality. And eventually, it just breaks. But the MER approach, it's the total opposite. You start with the absolute, dead simple version that works, and you only add complexity when a real, genuine need pops up.
Okay, so what's the fix? Well, that's where this whole idea of minimum effective routines, or MERs, comes into play. Let's break down what we're actually talking about here.
A minimum effective routine is really a two-part concept. First, it's about figuring out the smallest possible set of actions you need to do consistently to keep things running smoothly. And second, it's about using the absolute simplest version of each of those actions that actually gets the job done. Nothing more, nothing less. It's all about ruthless simplification.
So how do we actually do this? We're going to use a super simple but incredibly powerful 4-step cycle that businesses all over the world use. Plan, do, check, and act. Let's start with step 1, plan your attack. This is where you get strategic and target exactly where the inefficiency is hiding in your business. And look, this is not some massive 6-month project. No way. We're talking about a quick 1 to 2 week sprint. First, you're just going to brainstorm a list of all the regular routines in your business that are good candidates for improvement. Then, and this part is absolutely key, you prioritize. Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick just 1 to 3 of the absolute most painful routines to focus on right now.
So how do you pick those 1 to 3 priorities? Easy. You look for the pain. Ask yourself, which routines are causing me the most stress? Which ones are just black holes for my time? Or maybe, what's a routine that doesn't even exist yet but really, really should? And here's my personal favorite. What tasks are you doing that don't actually need you to be the one doing them? Just start with what hurts the most.
All right, once you've picked your target, it's time for step 2 of our cycle, do. This is where we get our hands dirty and actually improve the process. And for that, we're going to use something called the EAR filter. It's an incredibly powerful tool for permanently streamlining your work.
I absolutely love this analogy because it just perfectly explains what happens to our routines over time. They collect all these barnacles, outdated steps, unnecessary checks, redundant tasks, and they just slow everything down. Your job is to grab a scraper and get all those barnacles off the hull of your business.
Now this is where the magic really happens. But you have to, and I mean have to, apply this EAR filter in this exact order. You always start with E. You ask yourself, can we eliminate this task completely? If it's not essential, just get rid of it. That's your biggest win. If you can't eliminate it, then you move to A. Can you automate it with software or AI? Let a machine handle it. And only if you can't do either of those do you move to R, relegate. Assign it to another person. And listen, when you're applying this filter, you have got to be tough, be decisive. This isn't about just fiddling around the edges or making tiny little tweaks. The routine you chose is a priority because it's a major pain. Your goal is to go in there and solve the problem for good. Okay, so you've planned your attack and you've done the work to improve a routine. That's fantastic. But we're not done yet. To make sure all these great improvements actually stick, we have to move on to the final 2 steps of our cycle. Step 3, check, and step 4, act. So first up is step 3, check. And let's be realistic here. Your new super streamlined routine, it's probably not going to be perfect right out of the gate. That's okay. You'll need to monitor it for a little while to iron out any wrinkles and make sure it's really working the way you want it to.
And you can even build a system for checking, which reduces your stress even more. Just set a simple reminder in your calendar to check in on it every so often. Or, even better, use software to send you an alert if a key metric goes off track, like if your inventory gets low. That way, you're not constantly watching it. The system tells you when there's a problem.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most critical piece of the puzzle, step 4, act. because let's face it, we are all creatures of habit. And if you don't have a system in place, it is incredibly easy for you and your whole team to just slowly drift back to the inefficient, good old way of doing things.
And that's really the ultimate goal here. You see, there's a big difference between a routine and a habit. A routine is an action you have to consciously decide to do. It takes mental energy. But a habit, that's an action your brain does automatically without even thinking about it. We want to turn your new minimum effective routines into automatic habits.
So what's the trick to making that happen? You use a trigger. You anchor your new, simple routine to something you already do without fail. For instance, your new 15-minute cash flow check. That gets anchored to your first cup of coffee in the morning. Or your end-of-day audit is triggered by the moment you switch off the lights. You just link the new action to an old one.
And this right here, this is the whole point. This is the ultimate payoff. It might feel like a little bit of work up front, but what you are really doing is manufacturing time. By simplifying and systemizing, you are literally creating more time and more mental space for yourself.
So, by consistently applying this simple framework, plan, do, check, and act, you systematically move your business from a state of chaos to one of control. And this isn't just about feeling less stressed out. It's about creating the stability and the focus you need to start thinking about the bigger, more strategic goals for your business.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Once you've scraped off all those barnacles and your ship is sailing smoothly and efficiently, what new destinations are you going to set a course for? With all your new time and focus, what will you build next?